Today we are starting a new mini-series on the channel called Effects Explained, where we are going to go from beginners to advanced levels, breaking down how different effects work. And first we're going to study 3 different effects: reverb, chorus, and in today's episode, delay. You can also request below other effects you'd like me to explain in future videos. We are going to begin with the basics, some explanations that will seem obvious to some people, and gradually move into more advanced territory with higher level technical concepts, all step by step. And for this, I'm using the auto delay from Gamechanger Audio. They are great engineers that create the most unique gear I have seen. I think this pedal is perfect for explaining how to get really complex sounds with a delay, and also how to get like really simple, easy to use sounds, because it comes with most things you'll be able to see on a regular delay. So you can go from normal parameters, and you can also make it really difficult and more advanced and start patching in between the different parameters and creating really unique sounds. If this is your first time here, my name is Piluso. I'm a music producer, musician, and mix engineer, and we have lots of videos on this channel with tutorials of music production, as well as studio tours, interviews, and much more. I invite you to subscribe below. It's completely free, and leave some questions below in the comments so I can make future videos that are useful for you too. So let's start with the basics of a delay. So basically a delay is when a sound repeats itself in time. So we have pedals that make that sound, and this is one of them. Yep. So that's the basic explanation of what delay is. Bye-bye. No, just kidding. So a basic pedal will bring 3 or 4 different knobs. And when I'm saying pedal, I'm also mentioning plugins and hardware units. And one of the first knobs we got is the mix. That if we have it all the way to our left, we'll have the clean sound, the dry sound, that's the way they call it. And if we go all the way towards the right, we'll have the wet sound or the processed sound. So that means that if we go towards the right, we can only hear the repetitions and the delay sound. And if we go towards the left, we'll hear the original sound without any effect. And we can choose the middle point or whatever we like for our song. The next parameter that's really important is the time. The time value will allow you to separate in time the original sound from the repetition. And you can have really quick time, and that will generate what is called a slapback delay. That is like what we used to hear on Elvis Presley's voice, and lots of old school delay sounds are really short timed because they couldn't make long delays. You had to use like tape machines and stuff to create these delays. And then if we go towards our right, we'll have a slower and slower time between the original sound and the repeated sound. Then if we go to the repeat knob, that is also known as feedback, this allows us to choose how many repetitions we want for our delay. So if we go all the way towards our left, we'll have only 1 repetition. And if we go towards the right, we'll have an infinite amount of repetitions. And then the 4th knob that we usually find on a plugin or a delay pedal is the tone knob. This means that if we go towards our right, we'll have a brighter delay sound. And if we go towards our left, we'll have a darker sound. So normally a delay pedal will stop there. Then we have the next level of delay pedals that allow you to change a couple of parameters. And the first one is the algorithm. Here we have 3 algorithms. If we go towards our left, we'll have tape delay. This was known in the 60s, 50s, 70s, because that was the way that you generated delays, that it was having 2 tape machines, one with your main track and the other one generating a delay. So the texture of the sound sounds like a bit of a tape machine where you have a little bit of distortion. And then if we go to the middle, we have the analog delay, that usually an analog delay will make your sound darker on each repetition. And then we have the digital delay that will be a copy of your original sound, so a clone. So you get like each delay sounds exactly the same. So depending on what your song needs and what you want to do, you will choose one or the other. Let's talk about the mono or stereo modes that this pedal offers, and most delay effects also offer. If you have it on off, that means that you have a mono repetition. You get equal amounts from your left and your right. And then you can activate the ping pong. That will separate and generate a different ping pong effect. So that means that you'll first hear it on one side and then you'll hear it on the other side. This is perfect for rhythmical repetitions. So you can choose between having the ping pong opened 50% or 100%. And now we go into the fun territory of the auto delay by Gamechanger Audio. As we can see here, we have 2 different knobs, 2 different sizes. We have 2 foot switches and a dynamic knob and a pitch knob. And we have a patch bay, which is really, really cool. So basically this pedal can generate CV, and CV is commonly used in modular synths, but now you can use it in pedals and use it to control different parameters. So CV means control voltage. You can take CV from your dynamics, so how loud you play, or you can take CV out from your pitch or tone. And here we can control both. So we can, for instance, say that when we play a note louder than a threshold that we can select here, we can patch one of the outputs of the dynamics and control, for instance, when the delay opens and the level of the delay. And basically what we do is with this little knob, it basically does this movement. So if we have the knob right in the middle, it won't do anything. If we open it a little bit, it will just move this way a little bit. If we go all the way, it will open all the way. Same thing, like you can also do it negatively. So you have this in the center and bring it down. So that means that you could move this way or complete. So I'm going to explain that more in depth in a little while, but this is what the little knobs do. It's like a tiny hand that opens and closes different parameters. let's check out the inputs and outputs from this wonderful pedal. Something that I really like about this brand is that they make pedals, but they're not exclusive for guitars. You can use them for guitars, basses, synths, even vocals. You can use them for mixing. Let me know below if you want me to make an episode on how to use pedals for mixing, like if they were like normal hardware processors or plugins. And they also make it so you can use them with Euro Rack. So basically you can choose between instrument level input, line level input, and Euro Rack. So that means that the pedal will expect different inputs to work properly. Then we've got a stereo input. We can use one if we want, or we can use both. If you're using a guitar, you're going to plug into the left. If you are going to use it with stereo synth or using it to process inside of your computer, I use it like an insert. You plug into both. Then we have a tracking input, which will allow us to use this little bad boy, and this is called an auto splitter. And what this does is you go in with your signal right here from your guitar, and you have to plug your guitar straight into here, and it will make 4 different parallels. These pedals from the Auto series and other pedals as well work with CV. So they're expecting to have a clean input so they can actually analyze the dynamics and pitch from your instrument. And what they need is for you to come straight in from your instrument. This is why they got this auto splitter where your signal comes in and then it comes out to your normal pedal board, but you have this 4 copies that you can use and plug it straight into the tracking input. So that means that even though you've got this pedal at the end of your pedal chain, you can come in with the normal cable at the end of the pedal board, but you also plug in this tracking input so it can read how the original sound without any processing worked and sounded like. Also, if you didn't plug in anything here, it will take this as your input. Then we have MIDI in and clock in, our 9 volts power input. We can also have a USB-C plugged into this that will allow us to update the firmware and also use MIDI. We have a tracking output, so that means that we have several of these pedals or several equipment with tracking. We can plug our guitar here and then have another copy of the tracking output right here. So that is also very practical. Then for the outputs, we got stereo output, and also we have a switch here that controls this knob up here. That could be the input, so we can control how much volume we are going into the delay with. We can also have it on wet only. That is how I would use it if I'm using it as an insert on Pro Tools, for instance. So that means that we are only listening to the delayed signal. And then we have the mix. That is the normal thing to have on a pedal. So on your left, you're going to have the dry signal, and on your right, you're going to have the delayed signal. Now that we've explained that, we can understand better how all of this works and why we have a patch bay. So the basic mode of automation is having it in the sum mode, and then we can choose if we want to use our dynamics or our pitch or both to control the different parameters we've got here. So the first thing they suggest is that you hold down the auto button and strum really loud, and that will set the maximum level. Then with the dynamics, we can set a threshold. That means that we'll have parameters to control underneath the threshold and above the threshold with 3 different modes: fast, rise, or gate. So what we can set up here is, for instance, if I want to have no delay and I want the delay notes only when I hit really hard. Well, how do we do that? Well, we set the level or the mix all the way down, and we're going to patch in. We have 2 outputs for the dynamics and 2 outputs for the pitch, and then we have inputs for level, tone, repeat, and time. So let's plug in the output from the dynamics and let's go into level. And now we're going to open up the automation parameter, and that means that when the sound exceeds the threshold, the level will go from 0 quite way up. Yep. And then it will come down again. And how fast it comes down, we have to set up our release mode, that is just holding the auto button and moving the dynamics knob, and we can choose how long we want our release. We could also go the other way. So that means that when we strum really hard, the sound will come down and then come back up. So that will allow us for a ducking effect. Another thing we can do is that when we strum hard, we'll get more repeats on our note. So we can bring down the repeats to only 1. And whenever we hit harder than this light, we'll get more repeats. Let me know if you're understanding this so far. And now let's talk about pitch. What pitch allows us to do is to generate a CV, such as what happened with the dynamics, from a selected note or from tone. So for instance, what I can do, I can hold the on button and play a note. I could play like the 5th fret on the 3rd string of the guitar and have this on the center, and I can choose one of the outputs from the pitch. We can have our level of the mix. So that means we have a dry signal, and the delay will only open up when we go through that note. We can also bring the pitch up, and that will work with the notes close to that one. Or if we go all the way up, the delay will happen only from that note all the way up to higher notes. We can have a clean low end for all of the low notes, and then we can have delay on the top notes. So we can have distortion and hit really hard without any delays, and then when we go up, we'll have a delay for soloing and we don't have to press any pedals. You can use lots of different creative ways for this pedal. It's amazing, everything you can do. You could also set it to tone, so that means for the neck pickup, you can have a really dark sound and use the tone knob to make it dark, and you won't have any delay there. Use the bridge pickup, which is really bright, and have the delay kick in when you switch your pickups. So that is really interesting because you can actually control the delay pedal from your guitar, or you could also use it with keyboard if you have keyboard tracking for the filter. I really like that. And then we have different automation modes. We have some that is what we've been checking out right now. External, if you want to use with external synths and CV generators, and also the alternative mode, which will allow you to use the small knobs when they are patched in as an alternative effect. So you can switch from one to the other with this. Let me know below what you thought about this new mini series of effects explained. I hope you enjoyed this pedal. I want to congratulate Gamechanger Audio for making such a cool thing, and they're always making such cool equipment. Let me know below what other pedals and what other effects you like me to explain. And don't forget to subscribe. My name is Piluso, and I'll see you in the next video.